Now we've seen what we can accomplish with ungrouped data, finding the mean, media, and mode. Now the next thing is now to consider the group data. And to the first, we understood what we meant by the word group data. Now, based on what we've explained previously. Now, based on that, we are going to see another question. We're going to consider now the question that sounds, we've considered the question under pie chart earlier. So we're going to look at how we can group that data and make it more useful to our findings. So considering the questions, we have a mark that is 4, 5, 6, 7, 8, 9. We have a number of candidates. Then we talk about what? 5, 8, 5, 6, 4, 2. Our mark signifies our what? Our x, which is our variables. And the number of candidates that score these variables are 5, 8, 5, 6, 4, 3, respectively. So if you had this app, we are expected to get what? 30. I believe that is so. So getting this, we now have to find our FS. You understand? Our FS is going to be what? It's going to be a multiplications of, because this is a frequency, we're going to be a multiplication of these and these in order to get our FS. So that means we're going to have what? We're going to have 20, we're going to have 40, we have what? 30, we have 42, we have 32, and then we will have 18. So that is going to be that, and then we will have what? The total of what? 182. If you had this, we're expected to get 182. Our mean will now be what? Mean will be EFX all over FX. That means summations of FS, which is the multiplications of frequency and then the variable, all over the total number, the summations of F, which is what? Frequency. So adding this, we now have 182 all over 30, which is going to give us what? So if you divide this, we're expected to have 6.07, which is approximately what? Which is approximately 6 in nearest whole number. I hope that is clear. Now, having considered the first example under the group data, we'll have to look at another question that has to do with this. Now, with this, we find out that the frequency that we have here, some are missing, so which is indicated by letter X. Now, having used the letter X in this particular value, we now find out that to make use of our mark to be X will be absolutely difficult. I guess we're all going to agree with me on that. So rather than using X again, because X has been used in our question, those are variables which could change. So we can also represent that with another value. So let's use Y this time to represent this. So we're going to make use of Y to represent that particular value. In terms of this, what we are now going to do is now to find mean. Because if you look at this, if the mean mark is 5. So how do we go about that? You remember the formula that we use the order, which is what? Fxx all over EF. Where we have the summation of Fs all over what? Summations of what? Frequency. And then we have this. But this particular mean has been given right now. So we don't have to look for the mean. What we are looking for is this missing value. So the first thing we need to do is to create a table for this particular group data. So which we'll do right now. So like I said, we are representing our mark with Y. So we're going to have, rather than having this, we are now going to have what? Y and then frequency Y, because we are making use of Y right now. So that means we're going to have frequency and our Fs in these terms. So we're going to have 3, we're going to have 4, we're going to have 5, we're going to have 6, 7, and 8. So, and then we have, for this, we have 5, we have x minus 1, we have x, we have 9, we have 4, we have 1. Now, based on what we have here, 3, 5, 4, that. So now we have to multiply. So having multiplied, we say that 3 times 5, which is 15. If you are multiplying this, now this is how we multiply. So you have to say 4 brackets 1 x minus 1 this. You're going to open these brackets. And how do you do that? When I say this, what I simply means is that 4 times this bracket. You understand? You remember when we always say AB, what we simply means is that A times B. Do we get that? We cannot say, when we say A plus B, it's not the same thing as what? It's not the same thing as AB. So we should take note of that. So writing or combining a number and letter together simply means that we are multiplying the two together. So considering this, we are now having 4 times x, which is going to be 4x, 4 times x, 4x. This sign will remain, and 4 times minus 1, which is going to be what? Minus 4. So that means we're going to have what? 4x minus 4 here. So looking at this, 5 times x, which is going to give us what? 5x. 6 times 9, which is going to give us what? What are we going to get on that? We're going to get 54. And then 7 times we're going to get 28, and this times we're going to get 8. So let's quickly add up these particular values together. So that means our summation EF will now be what? Our summation F will now be additions of these, and our summation Fs will also be additions of this. So let's quickly add them together, and what do we get? So we have 5 plus x minus 1 plus x plus 9 plus 4 plus 1. So what do we have? We have 4 plus 4, that's 8. That's 18. So 18 2x. Because this x plus s will give us what? 2s. So it's 18 plus 2x. Because s plus s is going to be 2x. So let's consider this as well. So we're going to have 15 plus 4x minus 4 minus plus 5x plus 54 plus 28 plus 8. So how are we going to get this? So note that what we did here is that number is added with a number, and letter will also be added with a letter. So you cannot add this letter with this because they are not of the same family. So you're going to add the one that are family together, and you're going to add number that are family to each other together. So also here I'm going to add this and this together, and I'm going to add all the numbers together. So if I'm going to do this, what am I going to get? I'm going to get 11 at this point. 11 plus this one, I'm going to get what? I'm going to get 65, and the 65 plus this, I'm going to get 93, and then I believe that is so if you use your calculator, and if you add that 93 to this, I will get 101. I guess it is. So we have 15 minus 4 plus 54 plus 28 plus 8, which is giving us 101. Then 4x plus 5x is giving us what? 9x. Giving us this value, that means this is it and this is this. Then we now have to go back to the formula where we have our value to be y, which is summation fy, which is going, this one is y, summation fy over summation f. So that means that you remember that our mean is what? Is 5. So it's now going to be 5 equals to the value that we get here, which is what? Which is, this one is summation fy. So which is what? Which is 101 plus 9x all over our frequency, summation of the frequency, which is what? 18 plus 2s. So what do we do now? We cross multiply. So we move this to this side, then it's now be what? When you move division to the across the equal to, then what does it become? It becomes a multiplication. So that means it's going to be 5 bracket 8 plus 2 8. Now what this simply means is that what is coming multiplied by what? By the 5 that you met there equals to 101 plus 9x. Haven't done that, then we have to open that bracket then before we proceed. So 5 times 18, what do we have? We have, as in case we have 90. Then if you multiply this, we have 10x equals to 101 plus 9x. So what do we do next? We have to move this particular value to this side so that x can be at the x side and ordinary number can be at ordinary number. That is how we should always try to do whenever we have a number with a letter. We move a letter to one side and we move number to another side. So we are going to move this to this side and we're going to try to move this to this side. When you move a positive number across the equal to line, it becomes what? A negative value. So we have 10x minus 9x equals to 1019. Now, when you are moving this 90, which is also a positive to this side, it becomes what? A minus. So minus 90. But when you now subtract, 10x minus 9x, it's possible for us to do that. That is going to be 1x. So if you multiply, anything you multiply by 1 is giving us as the same value. So there's no point writing 1s. So I would rather write ordinary s. So equals to what? This minus this. What do we have? We have 11. So our s is what? Is taken to be 11. I'm using our mean 5 to get our value missing, which is 11. That means we can say that this particular one is what? It's going to be 11 minus 1, which is what? 10. That means this place is 10, and this place is what? Is 11. So if you now look at this, we can now easily find our mode. And we said most is what? Is the most highest frequency occurrence. So what that means, what we are simply saying is that our mode, which is what? Is highest frequency occurrence. What is the highest frequency occurrence? The frequency occurrence is what? 11. So therefore, our mode is what? Is 5. Now, to find the media as well, we have to look for arrangement. And then our arrangement is now going to that for the group data. What we are going to do is that, now, having gotten our mode, then to find our median. So what we need to do now is to apply, because this is a group data, so what we are going to do is that we're going to apply a rule which we refer to as n plus 1 all over what? All over 2 to get our position. We want to get the position of this media so that we can get our value. So for us to do this, we have n plus 1 all over 2. What is our n? Our n is the additions of the frequency. Our n is the addition of the frequency. And if you remember, this is where we get the addition. We said our addition is what? Is plus 2x. That's our addition of the frequency. And now that we've gotten our frequency to be 11, so that means we can replace this x by what? By 11. So we have 18 plus 2 bracket 11. So if you multiply this, what do we have? We have 22 plus 18. What do we have? We have 40. That means we have n to be what? 14. So it's going to be what? It's going to be 40, right? 40 plus 1 all over what? All over 2. So if you multiply this 22, then we have that. So if you add this up, we get what? 41 all over what? 22. All over 2. Now, if you divide this, what do we have? We now have 20.5. If you add that together, if you divide that, we have 20.5. Now, that means our media can be found on this position, which is 20.5. So how do we get that location? You remember that this is now 10. So let's write the value as appropriate. This is now 10. So let's add this up. So we look at it how we had. We have to add from the right and we add from the left. Because if you get the value from the right, you have to pick it. And if you get another value from the left, you have to pick it. So let's add from one side first. Let's add from this side. So we have 5 plus 10 is 15. 15 plus 11, that is what? 26. So this place is 26 position. That means that this particular 28 can be found at around this location. So let's look at it from this side as well. So 1 plus 4, that is 5. 5 plus 9, that is what? 14. 14 plus 11, that is also what? Is also 25. You see that the two locations round around and get at this position. Now, let me explain that again. What I'm saying here is that whenever you get the position using this particular n plus 1 all over 2, we've gotten our n to be what? If you add all these things together, we're supposed to get 40. Now, having get 40, you add 1 to it and divide it by 2. When you divide it by 2, you will get the position where you can find your media. You know, your frequency is not our media, so we have to look for the position. So we now say the position is 20.5 Hz. So that means that we're going to look for that position at this side. So looking for the position, we now say we'll add from our right hand side and our left hand side. When we add from the right hand side, we said we have 1 plus 5 plus this. You know, this is not up to 20. It's not up to 20.5. So we now add it to this one as well. You now see that our value is now located around this place because this is now more than it. But this one is not. So our answer is around this place. We now find out that, okay, let's add it from the left hand side too and see what we will get. So we say 5 plus 10, which is 15. 15 plus 11, that is what? 26. We find that the two are located at this particular spot where we can find our 20.5. So that means that this is our location for the result. Therefore, what is the value for this frequency? Which is what? 5. Therefore, our median is what? Is 5. I hope that is clear. So let's see one more example on this before we proceed.
Now, considering another question.
We said the table shown below shows that people of all ages that attended a village meeting.
Now we want to calculate
mean, and now we are calculating standard deviation. Note that these questions, there's no way you can actually calculate standard deviation without bypassing through what we call variance. So invariably, we're talking about another question which is not included in this question, in this example, which is called what?
Variance. Now,
how do we go about this? For this, so we draw our table for this, for easily use. So we are going to have our age. We're going to have age. So the age, which range from what? From 21 to 30, 31st to 40 years, 40.
1 to 50, then we have 51 to 60.
We also have 61 to 70 and 71 to 80. Now, for the frequency, we have 3. For these people, we have 3. Only 10 of this age attended, 14 of this age attended, 10 of this age, 8 of this stage, and 5 of the elderly men. So we have also our S. Our S is the difference, is the mark between these two, what we can call mark, class mark between these two. So if you add these two together
and divide it by 2, what are we going to have?
We're going to have 25.5. So if you add this up, we'll get 51, right? So if you divide it by 2, we will get 25.5. So that is that about that. So we have 25.5. So if you add this on as well, you will get 35.5, 45.5, 55.5, 65.5, and 75.5. Now this is the way of getting our variables or our values to be used in this. So the next thing is now to calculate our FS. You know, we're expected to add our frequencies together. If you add these frequencies together, we are expected to get, what is the value we are expecting? If you add this and this, okay, if you add this, this is what? This is 20, this is 34, 37, 37 plus 5, that is 42, 42 plus this is what? This is 50. Now, to add this up, we are now going to multiply these values. So here we are expected to get 76.5. This is going to get 35.50. So here we will get what? If you multiply this, we'll get 37. That's 637.0. This is 0.0. This is 555.0. And if you had multiplied that one, we'll get 524.0. And if you multiply the last one, we'll get 37. That's 377.5. And if you add it up, we'll get 2,525. Now, I haven't got that. So the next thing we're going to get is now.
Before we proceed, is we need to find the mean. Because from this now, we can derive our what? Our mean. So that means we say our x is what? Summation fs all over what?
Summation f. So where we have 2525 all over what? All over 50. Where we will get,
if you please try to
use your calculator to get this. And what did we get? We get, I believe this is all what we all got. So this is what the value we have. So having done this, so the next thing is now to proceed and find out what we refer to our what? Our standard
for group data. Now to do this,
what we simply need to do is what? We should now subtract our value. Now this is our what? This is our S, our variable. So we're going to subtract
our mean from our value.
So that means that we're going to say 25.5 minus 20 minus 50.5. So we're going to get what? Minus 25 here. So if you say minus 35.5 minus 50.5, we're going to get what? Minus 15 as well. If you say 45.5 minus this, we're going to get what? We're going to get minus 5. Then if you minus this and this, we're going to get 5. If you minus this and this, we get 15. And if you minus this and this, we're going to get
25.
So I haven't done that. Then the next thing is now to square this. So we're going to square this value, which is going to be x minus x bar, which is what? Squared. So if that means that we're going to square the value that we have here. So this one is going to give us what? It's going to give us even more. That is, square means that we are multiplying this in two places. So we're going to say minus 25 times minus 25. So minus 25 times minus 25 will give us what? 625. So minus 15 times minus 15 will give us 200 and what? And 25. And minus 5 times minus 5 will give us what? 25. 5 times 5 will give us 25. These times this will give us 225, and then 25 will give us 625. Now, I believe that some people will be wondering that how come this minus is giving us the same answer as this positive value. So what will actually happen is that, if you remember in your math class, you have been explained that if you are multiplying addition, plus times plus is what? Plus. Minus times plus is minus. Minus times plus times minus is what? Is minus, and minus times minus is what? Is plus. So if you are now multiplying this, you are multiplying it in two places. That means minus times minus will eventually change to what? Plus. Also, this also applies to division. Plus divided by plus is plus. Minus divided by plus is plus. Minus divided by this, and as well this. We have now to multiply our frequency with what we have here.
So multiplying our frequency with this, we have 3 times
625, which is going to be 1,875. Please use your calculator to testify that, please. So 10 times this, we have 225.50. So 14 times 25, we will get what? We will get 350. And then if you say, what is the next one? Which is 10 times 25, we'll get 250. Then we'll also have 8 times 225, we get 1,800. And then at final, 5 times 625, we'll get 3,125. And if you add this up, so with your calculator, please press, so we are expected to have 9650. This is what we are expected to have at the end of the day. I guess that is what we all get.
So now to find the standard deviation.
Like I said earlier, I said that before you can do that, you have to find the variance. So finding the variance, which is this. So finding the variance, then we have what? We have
Fs, that's EFX minus x d squared all over EF.
This is the formula for variance. So if you are now looking for the variance, that means we are dividing this by what? By the total, which is this, and that will give us what? That will give us 965 all over 50, which we are going to have 193. This is our variance. Now to calculate our standard deviation, which is this, we now give us square root of variance. You remember that our formula is this. So square root of variance, which is the same thing as square root of EF s minus x squared all over EF. So this is the same thing as, this is the value we got here, because they are the same thing. So we are going to find, just for easy sake, we just find the square root of this. So we are expected to get 13.83
as our what? As our standard deviation.
I haven't considered to find mean and standard deviation.
Now we still want to use the same questions to find
media and mode of the distribution. Now, we find out that I've actually wiped out some certain things here. So we're going to consider the use of class boundary and cumulative frequency. Now, in terms of the class boundary, we're still going to make use of this age to determine our class boundary. And this age is the same thing as class interval, as you may see in some text. So, but here we're going to leave it as what is where here, which is age. So, in order to make that, we are going to simply put this as that value, which is going to be replaced as class boundary here. So, what we are going to do is that we're going to reduce this by 5, we increase this by 5, we reduce this by 5, just like we did earlier in this episode. So we have 20.5 to 30.5. Here we have 30.5 to 40.5. So 40.5 to 50.5. Here we have 50.5 to 60.5. And we have 50.5 to 60.5. Here we have 60.5 to 70.5 and 70.5 to 80.5. Now we want to consider the cumulative. How do we get the cumulative? We have to get the cumulative frequency from this. The word cumulative means that addition, subsequent additions of something. You understand? So cumulative of this is just 3 because it's the first one. So cumulative of it is what? Is 3. Now cumulative of this is what? Addition with the upper one. You add it to the upper one. So when you are adding it, then you have what? We have 13. You know. Now the cumulative of this, you add it up to the upper one, which is going to be 14 plus 10 plus 50. So which is going to give us what? Which is going to give us 28, 27. So we're going to have 27 at that level. So we are going to have another cumulative here, which is going to round up from here to this place, which is going to be 20, 34, 37. So we're going to have 37 at this junction. So we're going to add up to from 8 to up to accumulate what we have there. And what is it going to leave us? It's going to give us 45. And then we're going to add 5 to the previous one in order to get our cumulative value, which is going to give us what? 50. That is that about drawing our cumulative frequency. Now, to get our media, so first thing is we have to get our formula in hand. And how would we get that? We use L1, which is plus equals to what? What are we adding? M over 2 in terms of what? In terms of the position, which is going to be added, which is going to be subtracted from where? From our cumulative of that particular environment of the class width all over what? All over F, which is the frequency of that media. So how are we going to do that? So we're going to pick that value. This L signifies for the limit, the lower limit of the media. So before we can get the lower limit of the media, what do we have to do? To find the position. What is our N? Our N is 50 over 2. So what do we get? We get 25. So what is the position of 25? Let's look at the position of 25. This is 10. This is 10. This is 13 now. 13 plus this, and then we get 27. So this is around where we are looking for. And then let's add it up and see what we can have. This is 15. This is 13. 13 plus this is 23. So 23. So we still need to add it to this before we can get to where we are going. So that means that this position is for our media, which is 25. So 25 is our media. So we're going to take a lower limit. Our L stands for the lower limit of the class boundary. So 40 is our what? Is our value for the lower boundary. So that is our L. Our L is going to be what? The value for the lower boundary. And then what is the cumulative frequency of this particular one? The cumulative frequency is what? Is 27. It's 27. So our cumulative frequency is 27. So that is that about that. Then we have our class boundary to be the difference between these two that we are considering. The difference between these two. Okay, we'll write that out so that we can get that, we can actually know the value that we are talking about. So where we have our L, we said is our what? Is our lower boundary of the value. You know, we've gotten our position here, which is 25th, and we got that from here. So our lower boundary is what? Our L1 is 40.5. After we've got our lower boundary, so the next thing we need to get is our cumulative value, which we call here, and the value is attached to this, which is what? Our F1 is what? Is 27, which is the the corresponding cumulative value. So then we have the frequency that put up that particular position, which is what? Is 14. So our F is what? Is 14. Therefore, the last C, our last C is the difference between the upper and the lower class. So which is we call class width. So class width is what? Is 50.5 minus 40.5, which we are expected to get what? We're expected to get 10
as is if.
Now let's now find the value. So we are going to have what? 40.5 plus 50 over 2 minus what? Minus 27 all over what? All over C, all over, everything is all over what? All over 14. So here we will now have what? What do we have? We have 40.5 plus 25 minus 27 bracket what? Bracket 10 all over what? All over 14. So here we will now have what? If you multiply this, what do we have? Subtract this, we have minus 2 times 10 minus 20. So we have 40.5 minus 20. You know, this is plus here. If you have minus 20, all over what? 14. So minus times minus, just like we discussed earlier, we'll get what? We get plus. So, we get minus times plus, we'll get what? We get minus. So we have 40.5 minus 20 is all over what? All over 14. If you minus this, what do we have? We have 20.5 all over 14. So if you minus this, we'll get, if you divide that, we should get our final result for what? For media. So having get that, we'll get 1.46 as calculated. So the first thing we need to get is the formula for the mode. So we say mode is what? Is the limit plus the data 1 over data 1 plus data 2 all in what? With the class limit. So how do we get those values? So the first thing we need to get is, now you remember that we discussed when we were dealing with ungroup, we said that mode is the highest frequency, is the value for the highest frequency. And you remember that the highest frequency that we can lay our hand on here is 14. You understand? So since it is 14, so we're going to deal with 14 as the value that we want to use. So like I said, we have to have the formula at hand, which is the L1 plus data 1 all over data 1 plus data 2, and the class difference width, which we have. So we said our L limit, just like we explained earlier when we were dealing with median, but is the lower limit of the class boundary. And I said earlier when we were dealing with media with ungroup data, I said that is the frequency, the value of the highest frequency of occurrence. So where we have what? 14. If you look at this frequency, we find out that 14 is the highest here. So that means that this is the highest occurrence here. Now for us to get, this is where we're going to base our finding because it's the highest here. So everything we're going to do is going to be based on that line, that the highest frequency. So that means we need to derive our L1. So our L1 is the lower limit. So this is the limit. This is the class boundary for this particular highest. So we have 40.5 to what? 50.5. So the lower limit is what? 40.5. So the lower limit is 40.5. So and the data 1. Now how do we get the data 1? So we move to the back to the frequency. So frequency of the highest frequency minus the upper one is the data 1. So it's going to be what? 14 minus what? Minus 10. And for the data 2 is what? Is that frequency minus the lower one. So we are going to have what? 14 minus what? Minus 10 as well. So that means that is for that.
C is the difference between the class boundary. So the value of the upper limit minus the value of the upper limit minus the value of the lower limit. So if you minus that, we're expected to get what? We're expected to get 10. I believe that is so. So then from there we can now move back to our formulas and start fixing it in where we have our L1, which is 40. So 40.5, which is plus the data 1. What is the value of the data 1? Okay, which is 4 all over the value of the
data 1, which is 4 plus what? For the value of the data 2, where we get the subtraction of this, which is this, and then which of 10. So if you do this, what do we have? We have 40.5 plus 4. If you add this up, what do we have? 8, and then this will give us what? 40 over 8, which will give what? You believe that this Now, please, it is better we understand that the fact that this is in bracket, unlike the first one where we have all divided by 14. This is only a division within the bracket, so it doesn't affect this. So this is on its own, unlike this one. So we should take note of that. That is very, very important. This particular division covers everything. That means you have to do everything on the numerator before you actually divide by the denominator. But on this one, you're only going to deal with the one in the bracket, then you multiply, then you can finally add. And that is exactly what we did here. We make sure we add, we divide. So we have this, we added this one, which is 8. We now say 4 times 10, which is 40. Then, this one is the same thing as 1. It's a whole number. You can divide it by 1, because anything you divide by 1 is still the same value. So you can have this. Then we have 10 over what? 1, which is the same thing as ordinary 10. And then we now have this. So if you divide this by this, then you have what? 40.5 plus what? Plus 5. Then which is the answer will give us what? 45.5. And that is for mode.